Week 12 of the NFL. We cleaned up last week.
Yeah, we did.
Absolutely killed it. What was our NFL record last week?
6-1, I believe.
Dang.
No. Sorry, 8-1-1.
That's impressive.
Yep.
We're doing great in the NFL. Oh, college football's not so bad last week as well. So you can go over and check out that show. But we're gonna jump into NFL picks here and just kind of dive right into it. I think we're gonna have to record early next week for some Thanksgiving action. So these are not including any Thanksgiving games this coming week. This is just through Monday Night Football.
We need 2 NFL shows next week.
Yep, we might have to do a couple here. So exciting times for Thanksgiving football, though. Mike, what's like your essential Thanksgiving dish that you think is underrated?
Ooh, my wife's stuffing.
Ooh.
I typically hate stuffing.
So many jokes to
I've
make.
never enjoyed it growing up, but whatever she does is just like crack. It's insane.
Love it. Love it. I think mac and cheese should be on every Thanksgiving table, and it rarely is. And
I think mac and cheese should be at every meal of every day anyway. So I'm right there with you.
It should be included in everything. So that will be on my Thanksgiving table for sure. We'll get to those picks next week, though. Let's dive into picks this week. We've got a few game picks for you, and then we also have a handful of player props. So let's dive into how we're going to crush it this week. I'll start. I'll start with the Vikings at the Bears. Give me the Vikings -3.5 at the Bears. Any good team playing the Bears the rest of this season, I am going to take a number that is 3.5 or below. So just go ahead and make that an auto pick for me, and that's the only justification I have. Like, they're not calling the bench Caleb Williams like the players are, which is silly. Dude. But like, man, it is a dumpster fire. So give me any decent team 3.5 points or less to beat the Bears this year.
I am actually potentially on the other side of this one.
That's all right,
because they're with the new OC there. They actually looked really good last week. Caleb Williams looked competent, and the players came out and supported him finally after last week. But I mean, that was against Green Bay, so you're always going to show up against a rival. So I mean, maybe it's an outlier. I do have the Bears actually in a parlay. We can go ahead and run at.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go hit that.
Give me the Bears +7 with the Broncos on the money line. We'll start with Chicago since we start there. The new OC Thomas Brown, man, they just look better. And on the other side, Vikings, they've kind of struggled a little bit in the last few weeks. They ended up beating Tennessee by 10 last week, but Tennessee only scored 14 points. Other than that, they're only averaging 19 points a game over the last 4. So do they beat Chicago? Probably. Is it closer than people expect it to be? I think so, just because Minnesota hasn't been scoring points. Their rushing game is trash. And Jalen Johnson and the Bears passing defense, they're studs. So I like this one to be close. And then on the Broncos are just playing ball, dude. They looked absolutely insane against the Falcons last week. You were there. I'm thankful I ended up not being able to join you for that game. Bo Nix, I think, should be the front runner for Rookie of the Year right now, which feels insane to say because I think after week 3, all 3 of us were texting. We were like, I don't know if Bo Nix is the dude. And then now I'm like, yeah, I think he's the guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're playing the Raiders. The Raiders just suck. Let's call it what it is. And they're fighting for the first pick next year. So Broncos, significantly better team on the money line. Bears +7.5. Keep it close against the struggling Minnesota team. You can get it at a lovely -104.
Yeah, the Raiders are going for that Shedeur Sanders first pick, trying to beat the Cowboys to it, and who can make Deion Sanders their coach at the same time.
Now maybe is it the Giants because with Danny Dimes getting benched, Tommy DeVito, baby.
Well, we know Giants don't draft black quarterbacks. That
is true.
So we know they're not. We know he's not going there. We'll talk more about that in the college football episode, though, including the Heisman race. I'll just keep rolling with the Broncos. I got a parlay for us. The Broncos money line plus the Steelers money line gets you a nice +109. So the Steelers got the Browns on a Thursday Night Football. Man, I hate to say it, but the Steelers look good, and they look pretty dang good, actually. And then, we already talked about the Broncos, so we don't need to talk any more about that. Steelers going to the lowly Browns. Division game, always tricky. That's why you just kind of take them to win here, and you get some nice, juicy plus money out of it.
I'll finally give you the winning edge of
That
the worst 3-0
it
team.
only took 6 weeks. Yeah.
It is certainly not the Steelers.
Yep.
They do look good. Their defense looks great. Jameis is fun, man. I love him for fantasy purposes, but he's not a good NFL quarterback right now. So Steelers
Yep.
will win this one easy.
He's some fun. He's some fun YouTube clips. I love Jameis.
Oh man. What
All
was I
right.
saying last week? Let's go out there and kick their booty.
Oh yeah. And then he just goes out and gets railed. Like I love Jameis Winston's motivational pregame talks. Then he just proceeds to go get smashed by the
Every
other
week.
team. They crack me up, and I don't hate. I'm not even a hater. I think he's great. He's such a positive person.
He's a great locker room leader. I'll
He
give him
is.
that.
He really is. He should be a coach. All right. You got a pick for this Lions and Colts game.
Yeah, give me Lions -7 at the Colts. I got off the hook. I took it to 7 because I can, and it still leaves it at -125.
Dude, I've been killing it with the hooks lately, so you should stick it on there.
I know. I'm just a pansy, I guess. Dude, the Lions are great. They're playing amazing football. And last week, Anthony Richardson came back. We joked last week about like, what are the Colts going to do? And then they turn around, they go beat the Jets. Well, now Aaron Rodgers might be getting benched, so that's hilarious. Anyways, yeah, Anthony Richardson came out last week and he looked like an actual quarterback for a change. I don't think there's a world in which he can do that twice or in 2 weeks in a row, especially against this Lions team. Detroit's averaging 39 points a game over the last 9. They've won 6 of their last 8 by more than 7. And the 2 that they didn't beat by more than 7 was Minnesota when they were playing well and the Texans. So those are both 2 really good teams in that stretch. Colts are the 30th. They have the 30th ranked strength of schedule. And in that time, they've still given up almost 23 points a game. So
wow.
I just don't think the Colts are going to be able to keep up. I mean, maybe the Lions have an off day, but they are dramatically the better team here. I do think they are the best team in football right now. So I like them to cover 7 here easy.
Man, they are just absolutely on fire. Some of the scores that they've had have been just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I love that. All right, we're going to go back to the well for me that I did last week, which is a Texans team total over 23.5. I think they beat this pretty quick for me last week. I think I'll take a little bit more of the game to do this against the Titans. They play a Titans defense that I think started the year pretty good, but when you look at like the good teams the Titans have played, they've given up 34 to the Bills, 52 to the Lions, 23 to the Vikings, who you just said aren't scoring enough, and then 27 to the Chargers. So like I think the Texans with Nico Collins and Joe Mixon rolling are better than at least a couple of those teams. So give me the Texans over 23.5. You can get better money if you want to like ladder this up to, the 27.5 mark if you want to. I think that could happen. So yeah, I'm just going back to that well this week because it treated me well in previous weeks. So
I like it. I think interesting point there about the teams you pointed out is the common theme there is a great rushing attack outside of the Vikings. And now they've got Joe Mixon, and we haven't shut up about Joe Mixon all year. So yeah, I like that one a lot.
And the Vikings scored the least out of all those teams that I mentioned.
Exactly.
So awesome. That's it for me. You got one last game pick, then we'll talk about some player props.
Give me anybody minus a touchdown versus Tommy DeVito. It's that simple.
Tommy Cutlets out here just absolutely not covering spreads. Yeah.
Now you've got the Bucks they've been streaky this year. They're either amazing or they're not, but they're coming off a bye. Nice rest, and then they might even be getting Mike Evans back. So I don't have a ton of lovely stats to throw here other than Tampa's averaging 24 points a game. I'll be shocked if Tommy DeVito can score 14. He had his moments last year, but we saw him at the end of the season. Like the true Tommy DeVito came out, and I kind of expect his fun side to have passed. There's enough tape on him to figure out what he's going to do. Defense is going to know how to play him. So Bucks -5.5 here.
Mark Schlereth had a good take on Fox, which was essentially just saying that like this is now a clown show in New York. Like you had Drew Lock, who showed last year he's a legitimate backup quarterback in the NFL and can come in and be serviceable. And you're going with this guy as a third string, and Drew Lock has been your second string the whole year. Like I don't know, man. Like it
I
just
think
feels
there's
like
one answer there, and it's that the race for the first pick next year, and that is it. Like they know Drew
it.
Lock is the better quarterback, so they're putting the worst one in.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to NFL player props. We both have a Brian Robinson pick, so why don't you start off with why you like Brian Robinson?
Yeah, I like Brian Robinson because he's playing the Cowboys. We say it every week. Take
Yep.
your running backs against the Cowboys. It hits pretty sure every week. They're allowing more rushing touchdowns than anybody else in the league. Joe Mixon just scored 3 on them last week. Robinson scored in 6 of his last 8. I like him to make it 7 of his last 9. If you also want a different take on this, you could also take Jaden Daniels to score. It's only at plus 110. I was expecting it to be closer to plus 150 because he hasn't scored since like week 4.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be a fun little value add, but it wasn't there. So minus 130, Brian Robinson, anytime touchdown.
Yeah, I'm with Brian Robinson over 68.5 rushing yards because pretty much just take whatever running backs playing the Cowboys and bet they're over rushing yards.
Yep.
For all the reasons you just said, I don't need to elaborate anymore, but you also let's stay in that division and you can talk about Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I'm heavy on the touchdowns this week, which I typically don't do, but here we are. Give me Hurts anytime touchdown. You can get it at minus 105. He's scored in 5 straight now, and he's scored 2 or more touchdowns in 3 of 5. So if you want to throw a sprinkle on 2+ touchdowns, you can get that at plus 450. LA, they're solid. They're playing the Rams here. They're solid against the run. So I kind of like Saquon to get tackled at the one a couple of times here, and you're just going to see the lovely tush push come through. So interesting stat. Saquon has literally scored in every other game this year since week 1. 1 touchdown, 0 touchdown every other. And he scored last week, which means he's not going to score this week, which means Jalen Hurts is going to score. So give me that at minus 105.
Yeah, that's great. I think he's due for that tush push to get him in. That's awesome. I'll take Jalen Waddle over 41.5 receiving yards. Going to give you some same reasoning I had last week against the Patriots. I picked Puka Nacua yards and he crushed it. I think in the first quarter, Puka Nacua was over his yards that we picked here. I'm going to do the same thing with Jalen Waddle in that Christian Gonzalez will primarily be on Tyreek Hill for the Patriots. So I'm just going to take whatever receiver Christian Gonzalez is not on to go over receiving yards. So Waddle, that's a low number too. I know his season hasn't been like insanely great, but like low number for the dude who they're going to be throwing to when, you know, the best corner is on the other side of the field.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, since Tua's come back, Miami has looked better, but they're still lacking their explosive plays. That hasn't happened yet. You got to think it's coming at some point. I mean, they're just way too good on the outside on both sides of the ball to not get something big. And he could easily hit this on one catch. So it's worth it as low as it is here.
Absolutely. All right. You got two more. You got two more props here for us, though.
I do, both from the same team. Give me Quentin Johnson with the Chargers anytime touchdown at a lovely plus 200. Herbert's kind of been unleashed by Harbaugh here. Their rushing attack has not been near as effective as it was to start the season. Old JK's kind of slowing down a little bit, and it looks like his age is showing a little bit. And they're realizing that, oh, hey, we have one of the best quarterbacks in the league and we let him go.
Yep.
And Quentin Johnson's been one of his favorite targets, man. He scored in 3 straight, and he scored in 5 of 8 games in total on the season before they unleashed him. Now he plays Baltimore, and Baltimore, as we know, they are terrible against the pass. So Quentin Johnson, it was interesting, though. Lad McConkey was at like minus 110. Lad hasn't scored since week 3. So I can't figure out why Quentin Johnson is the guy that is scoring every single week. Lad's not scoring, but the juice is so much better on Lad. So the value here to me is insane against Baltimore.
I love that one.
And sticking with that game, give me Justin Herbert over 248 yards. You can get it at minus 137. Again, the Ravens suck against the pass, and Herbert's gone over this in 4 of his last 5 against not Baltimore. So you throw him against Baltimore. It's the battle of the brothers here. I expect both teams to pull everything they have. Baby. Yeah, it is. So I just like Herbert to throw the ball and continue what he's doing, man. give me yards to Quentin Johnson on that touchdown. And just for fun, I'm going to throw a half unit side piece bet out on David Montgomery, first touchdown scorer
Yes.
at a lovely plus 350. They just score touchdowns with their running backs all the freaking time. We've already talked about why the Lions are going to win and win big. Indy is terrible against the run. Montgomery scored in every game this year, but like 2. So there's just value at plus 350 to throw a little sprinkle on it. So I like it.
I think he scored in like the first 30 seconds. I feel like I looked up and David Montgomery was scoring a touchdown this last week.
I feel like that happens like every other week at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. You've reached the part of the show where we run things down. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube, follow the podcast, TikTok, Instagram, X, all the places you get your podcast. Hit the like, subscribe, all of the good things. We're going to run through our NFL game picks, and then we're going to take you through our player props as well. Mike, why don't you start?
Give me the Lions -7 at the Colts at -125. The Buccaneers -5.5 against the Giants at -110. And then a parlay of Broncos on the money line with the Bears +7 at -104.
I'm going to take the Broncos on the money line as well in a parlay with the Steelers on the money line to get you some nice, juicy plus money there. Give me the Titans at Texans. The Texans team total over 23.5. And give me the Vikings -3.5 at the Bears. How about props, Mike?
Give me Brian Robinson anytime touchdown at -130. A Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown at -105. A Quentin Johnston anytime touchdown at a lovely +200. And I wrote it, but I didn't say it. I'm putting 2 units on Justin Herbert over 248 passing yards with a side piece bet of David Montgomery, first touchdown score at +350.
Perfect. I'll take Brian Robinson as well, but over his rushing yards, 68.5. Going to be a big fantasy week for him. Jalen Waddle over 41.5 receiving yards. And that is it. That's how we're going to make money. We will see y'all over at the College Football Show this week.